You can be a good girl. I got you Bobby just in case you're not. We wanted to do a labor and delivery story because we only had our video, which obviously is awesome, but I wanted to have like the story in our words, the way we remembered it, and I wanted to do it before I forgot, but I want to have it to share with you guys, but I just also want it for my own remembery.
Your own remembery?
My own remembery. And this one turns 3 months old tomorrow. What the heck?
Yeah, you're a big girl.
She's such a big girl.
Turn into a big girl.
But yeah, so, okay. Where do we start? Saturday. It was Saturday, November 26th.
Oh boy.
It was a gloomy day. Rain was sprinkling from the sky.
May 1st, 2015. Lisa and Grayson get married.
Oh yeah, that's where we start. So it was Saturday, November 26th, and we were hungry. It was dinner time. We were like, let's order.
Christmas decorating all day.
Yeah, we put up our Christmas tree and decorated all day. We're like, you know what, let's order Chipotle to pick up. We'll go pick it up. So we order, we go outside, it's 5 o'clock, we're going to pick up our Chipotle. We step outside our front door, and I was like, wait, stop, Grayson, stop. I think, yes, my water's breaking right now. And we were standing in like our courtyard and my water was breaking.
She peed herself.
It felt like I was peeing, but I had no control. And so I was like, my water's breaking. Like, this isn't supposed to happen for another week because we were exactly 39 weeks. She was due the next Saturday. And so
then I did what every good husband does, and I left to go get food.
we had enough time. We had called the doctors and they had said like, they can't say not to come in right away, technically, but you don't have to come in like right away. It's also really rare.
Also, well, you weren't having any contractions, so they said.
Yeah, it's also really rare
That's why they
for
weren't, like,
your water to break early like that. It's way more common for the doctors to have to break it or something in the hospital. So for your water to break, despite what the movies and TV shows look like, your water breaking early is pretty rare. So that happened. We ended up going to the hospital like an hour later. Grayson went to go get our Chipotle, which they forgot to give us our chips and guac.
I got it though.
But we got it like a month later. We went back and got free chips and guac.
I took my daughter and was like, can I have some of my free chips that you forgot to give me? And they couldn't resist.
Hi, sweetie. You're cutie. You're cutie. Yeah, you are. You're a little cutie. And so, got to the hospital around 6 p.m. I actually started having contractions around 6:30-ish, which is also kind of quickly because they say it can take between 5 and 7 hours for contractions to start once your water breaks. Right. So we were like, yes, we're going to do this so fast. We're going to have her by tomorrow morning. Lies. Not true.
Wishful thinking, right, Scarlett?
Exactly. And so contractions started around 6:30, and actually I had back labor, which that to me personally was more painful than regular contractions because I could feel them a little bit in the front and they weren't that bad, like they were totally doable, but my back contractions, oh my gosh, it was like I couldn't. We were walking around the hospital and all that, but my back was just like, it literally felt like it was gonna explode, which I know makes no sense
unless you've been there.
Yeah, unless you've been there, then it does make sense. But it felt like my back was gonna explode. So around 1:30 in the morning, I got the epidural. So I went for like, actually
freaking out.
I never even thought about it. I went for like 6.5
Yeah, you were there for a while.
hours without an epidural.
Yeah.
And so got the epidural at 1:30 in the morning. I was so nervous, like freaking out. I was like shaking and everything. I was just really scared.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's a good story. Near the end. And so Grayson was thankfully allowed to be in the room because some doctors don't allow it because it's a sterile environment. He was allowed to be there, so he helped me kind of through that a little bit. And in the end, it wasn't even that bad. So if any of your moms is worried, freaking out about epidural, I was freaking out. Not that bad at all. I feel like the IV hurt more, which they had a lot of trouble getting into me for some reason. But epidural happened, not that bad.
It's okay. It's okay. Keep going. Keep going.
It's okay. And yeah, so had the epidural, slept through the night. No one sleeps because they have to flip you over every hour, was it? 2 hours? Hour?
I think
Every hour.
Yeah.
Every hour they flip you.
Well, no, maybe it was more, but then like between that and them coming to do other things, they were in there almost every hour.
So they flip you and they check your blood pressure every hour and they do all these things. So when people say like, oh, just sleep, I'm like, how's anyone supposed to sleep through this? Plus, the nurse had warned me that sometimes with back labor, the epidural doesn't help. And that, like, I was like, okay, of course, great. And so, thankfully for me in the beginning, it was definitely helping a little bit. So now it's Sunday morning, the 27th of November, and we had slept maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
I fell asleep for a little bit, and then I woke up to Elise throwing things at me because she thought I was dead.
Literally, so he's not a heavy sleeper, like a deep sleeper at all. And there was alarms were going off the whole time because her heart rate was too fast. And so then, alarms are going like, and they get louder every like minute and a half.
Because one of the things was empty.
And my drip, the stuff to keep you hydrated was empty.
That alarm was going off.
So she was beeping, the alarm was going off. He was just passed out, not waking up. And I'm like, what the heck? He wakes up for everything. And I couldn't reach the clicker to get the nurse because he had moved it up to the shelf and I couldn't really move my bottom half of my body. So I couldn't reach it to get the nurse. I was screaming at him like, Grayson! Grayson! Like literally screaming. And then I had a thing attached for my heart rate on my finger and it was attached to this cord. And so I couldn't really throw stuff because it was like stuck on something. And so I could only get certain range. So I took my animal and I like whipped it across the room.
Whipped it.
He didn't even move. So finally he woke up and I was like, thank gosh, my husband's not dead. And then he clicked the clicker and the nurse came in. But that was just like one thing. But the reason they had me on antibiotics because my water broke ahead of time, they're worried about infection for me and her, which in the end I did actually get. So they had me on like an antibiotic drip as well. Anyway, so roll around to like 11 o'clock on Sunday, like afternoon, early morning. And one of the nurses came in and I was feeling like so much pain, specifically the like back labor pain. But it was really consistent, like contraction consistent. And so she's like, okay, like the baby's not dropped down as far as we like, but we're gonna have you start pushing because it's painful and really consistent, whatever. And I was like, okay.
Well, they checked you and said, "Oh yeah, I think that you're fully
dilated
and ready to go." And so she's like, "Okay, yeah, well then let's do it." And so kind of started doing that, and like the doctor was with another patient, I think, and so he came in a little bit, and then
an hour later.
Yeah, like 45 minutes, an hour, and it was just like, okay, like how's everything going and whatever, like, oh well. Not really made any progress, blah, blah, blah. And so he goes in and checks as well, just to like make sure. And he's like,
why are we pushing right now?
Heck? He's like, yeah, there's still like a centimeter at least left. Left to melt away, I guess. I don't know what it does. And so they're like, oh, well, let's shut it down then and you rest. And that whole time, the anesthesiologist, like the shifts had changed and all kinds of stuff, and so like her dose for the epidural was like the same as it was when we first got there, and so basically it was like she didn't even have an epidural and she was pushing that whole time.
Yeah, so
it was so low dosage.
That 45 minutes of pushing was more painful than getting her out or anything. It was just like, it was really intense. My back was doing the exploding thing because like he said, the epidural, the new anesthesiologist came in and was like, why is she only at 6 units an hour? She should be between 10 and 12 at this phase of labor. And I was like, no wonder I'm feeling everything. And so they did what they call delabor, which is when you stop pushing and stuff like that. And so delabor, they wanted me to rest. They bumped up all the meds. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is what an epidural is supposed to feel like. Like I couldn't feel anything. And the back labor even went away, didn't go away. Yeah. It was numbed. And so what he was talking about, like there were two little like lips of the cervix that still hadn't gone away, and they were just blocking her head, so she couldn't get through. And so they let me rest and they'd come check me every 2 hours, and it was going super slow. They ended up putting me on Pitocin because it started actually like they were getting further apart, my contractions.
Yeah, they're slowing down.
And they even put in a special catheter that goes between her head and the wall of my uterus to see how intense the contractions
Yeah, it was like
actually were.
a seismic. It reminded me of like, you know, like those earthquake seismic meter things.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Oh, it tested my
It's
earthquake
saying if
levels.
you were having earthquakes in your
Earthquakes. Apparently I wasn't having earthquakes. I don't know. And, like the intensity had decreased and the distance apart had decreased and like all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So long story short, they come in around 5 p.m. We'd already been there for over 24 hours. They come in at 5 p.m. and oh man, you're so worth all this drama. And this is now the laborist that comes in, and he was saying like, okay, so those little lips are still there. However, they feel a little bit softer. And he said, we're going to give you 2 more hours to see if you have any more progress. And then we're going to take you to get a C-section. And at that point, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, we've already been here for 24 hours. We could have just started with this and been done. And he also was saying, talking about her and like the infection because of all the antibiotics, and she was in there so long. And the entire time, I forgot to mention this, the entire time, since like the middle of the night on, I had a fever and was throwing up. And they kept sticking.
You only threw up a couple of times.
I didn't throw up. I had a fever the whole time,
Yeah.
but I threw up intermittently throughout. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Right. So what that means was she basically didn't get any water or ice chips like the entire time almost. So she was like dying of dehydration almost.
This was literally, that might have been the worst part of the whole thing, was that all I wanted was to drink water and eat my ice chips, and they wouldn't let me because I was nauseous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was like crying because I've never been so thirsty in my entire life.
After the delabor thing, they gave you some for a little bit, and then
It made me throw up.
but then they were also like the concerns of having to do a C-section, so then they stopped because you gotta have like empty stomach or whatever.
Exactly.
So they were like, oh well, now that this is a possibility, we're gonna
Not give you anything else.
yeah, stop giving you liquid and stuff. So it was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, so when he came in and was saying about might have to go to C-section, the other thing he was talking about was that they're going to have the NICU nurses there because they were going to like take her straight there for a little bit and like
Take Scarlett.
take her over to them and check her temperature, check like all of her vitals and all that stuff because make sure she doesn't like have an infection or anything. But then he was talking about like, oh yeah, you know, she might have to stay in the NICU.
Well, not just might. He said there's a high
She's
likelihood.
Like yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And then like potentially even have to stay there after we're discharged and all kinds of stuff.
So then I started bawling my eyes out
Yeah.
because I was exhausted, hungry, tired, which is the same as exhausted, but it was
And
again.
then you're like scared for her, and then you're also like,
Is it over yet?
yeah, like also like could have just done a C-section to begin with, or like
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just a lot.
Yeah. And so at that point,
after a lot of tiredness.
yeah. And so throughout this whole time, because I had a fever too, they kept sticking like ice packs under my armpits and in my groin and all these places. And at the beginning, it was nice because I was like actually hot, but then I had like the cold chills and they were sticking ice on me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the worst experience of my entire life. So 5 o'clock, they say we're gonna give you 2 more hours. 2 hours rolls around. They check me. He says they are definitely still there. However, they are now, he believes, soft enough to where when I am pushing, he'll put his hand up and like try and push them behind her head so that she can come down.
Because you got a big old head.
Yeah. And so we started to try and push again. And this time it was,
Working a little bit.
it took a really long time for any progress again because he had to keep popping those things.
Like 7:15 or like right like 7.
It was now 7:15, so we've been there for 26 hours in labor, and
then you started pushing again, and he was pushing the
flaps, trying to get him above her head. And so once that happened and she like descended down the canal a little bit, Then it went much quicker.
Yeah, it was just rough getting her out of that.
It was just hard to get her out of there. So in the end, I pushed for an hour and a half-ish.
She was born at 9:06.
9:06. So from like 7 to 9. It was
almost a couple.
It was almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Plus the 45 that I had done earlier. So what had happened was I pushed and her head came out, which like I feel like usually the head comes out and then the rest of the body just kind of slithers.
Yeah, they kind of just.
It did not. So her head was out, but she was stuck because her arm was up by her head. And so all I hear, I don't know from Grayson's perspective.
As you know, as a small human being.
Yeah. So I don't know what from Grayson's perspective, but this is my perspective. So the head comes out, which feels so weird. It feels like you have like a bowling ball stuck between your legs. You don't know what to do.
Oh, that's weird.
And so the head comes out, and all I hear is neck, neck, neck. And I'm like, neck? That's like a really important part of her body. And then the NICU nurses rush over, and one lady comes on top of me and does like a huge like a boosh, like CPR thing right on my pubic bone, and then feels like she just like shot out. I don't know. I don't know what happened after that, but it was like the weirdest feeling. Is that pretty much what happened?
That's pretty much what happened. Well, except what you couldn't see is how he was holding her, which looked like he was like, I don't even know. She was like, they thought she was sunny side up, which means her eyeballs are up.
Yeah.
Looking like, wouldn't be looking at the ceiling.
Wait,
like this. She'd be going.
Yeah. And they want them to be face down.
Face down. And you were, thankfully.
Well, no, they had turned her as I was pushing.
Yeah. Well, when she came out, she was.
Yeah, she was kind of sideways.
And so she was like, she's like this, and he's got like her head all like, I don't know, wrangled or whatever, and then that lady does the giant ram on Elise, and she kind of popped out, and then he like grabs her. I'm not gonna do it, but he like just flipped her straight upside down. Was like holding her. It looked like somebody had gone hunting and was holding up their like
their kill,
like literally upside down. And was like kind of smacking her back or whatever to get stuff out of her throat because she'd swallowed
my pony.
Yeah, whatever that stuff is.
The poop.
Basically poop. And so, because when she came out, she wasn't crying.
She didn't cry
or anything. And so he was trying to get her all cleared out so she could actually start breathing. So like all I see is like this woman on top of Elise jamming her to get Scarlett out. And then the doctor like ripping her out, flipping her upside down,
smacking her,
boom, boom, and then you zipped on over to the NICU table.
Yeah.
And then they were like sucking junk out of you. And
that was the other thing that, from my perspective, was like awful. So I was like super excited. The one thing that I wish I could have gotten to do is like have her come out and then come like right onto my chest, which because they had the NICU specialists in there, she had to go right to them to check for all that infection and stuff. But maybe next time. And so they take her away, and I tore internally. I didn't tear externally. So they had to stitch me up, which at this point, basically this whole time, I could feel everything. Like the epidural had worn off. I felt every single thing.
Well, because as you're going, which normally, apparently everybody else in our world, in our immediate circle of friends, has like 5-minute labors, and a baby just pops out. So you wouldn't have to like adjust the strength of the epidural, but you have the little button that you can press to like give yourself more dosage or whatever. And when you're doing that for a couple hours, you would press that a few times and increase the dosage, have more. But that's about the last thing you're thinking about when you're trying to push a human being out of your body. And I was not thinking about it either, so
I wore off.
It was basically like nothing that's happening by the end.
And so when they were stitching me up, that actually might have been the most painful part of the whole thing. Like I could feel everything, like him like pulling the strings and like all this stuff. Plus, she's over there not crying, and I'm like, why isn't she crying? And so I'm looking over. This is literally what I see. I see tubes being shoved down her throat really fast, and then I see some doctor like taking this hammer thing, like smashing my baby, and I'm like, what's happening?
It was like a cup. It looked like cupping.
It looked like he was
They're
like
trying to get all the blood to the surface.
Smacking her because they had to get the poop out of her lungs, and she wasn't breathing, and her limbs were purple, and I was like, oh my god, like what's happening? So.
And she had a super cone head.
And she had a cone head because
it wore off.
It was just swollen. It was just swollen.
Yeah, I'd been stuck in that little spot for like a day.
So it was 9:06 when she was born, and by I think it was 9:39 or like 9:40.
9:40, I was gonna say.
I finally got to hold her for the first time, and at this point I was just so happy it was over. I was exhausted.
The pictures are pretty entertaining.
This is okay. I'm gonna put a picture on the
At
screen.
Of
So
you?
no,
Or the first
I'm
one
gonna put
you
a
saw?
picture on the
Okay.
screen. When she was placed on my chest, I couldn't see anything because I was tired, and she was up really high as well. And so I said to Grace, I'm like, can you take a picture of her so I can see what she looks like? So he takes a picture, and this is the first picture I see of my daughter, which,
It's not my fault.
granted, she's cute, but I mean, that's kind
That's
of...
how she was laying there. What am I supposed to do?
She doesn't look as cute as maybe, but I didn't care. I couldn't even see it at that point either.
Yeah,
What
you
I
can
didn't...
see the picture.
what
if
I
you've
didn't-
watched our birth vlog, you'll see that quite a funny scene of Elise like, I can't even see her, but I know she's cute.
Yeah.
Because she's basically delusional.
What I didn't tell you guys before was that while I was pushing, we decided to push every other contraction because I was too tired. And so on the contractions that I didn't push, I started falling asleep because I was so tired. I was doing that thing where, like, you know, if you close your eyes, I couldn't keep them open because they wouldn't focus. And so where you close your eyes and, like, you know people are talking, but you can't comprehend what they're saying anymore. And so, like, I closed my eyes and I heard people saying stuff, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't be sleeping right now. I have to wake up. So I kind of like jolts awake.
I can't be sleeping right now.
But I was falling asleep in between contractions. I was too tired.
It was kind of funny.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say was we talked about her being sunny side up. That was why I had back labor. So they want them to be face down. And this helps explain it in my head. And so the front of your face is obviously squishier than your skull at the back. So when they are face up, the skull pushes on the nerves in your spine. And that's why I was getting back labor, because she was sunny side up. And so as I was pushing, they were kind of like trying to turn her around a little bit. So yeah, she was born. She was 19 inches long.
8 whole pounds.
8 whole pounds long, even. 8
long?
even.
8 pounds long?
8 pounds long.
Whoa. Yeah.
And in the end, she was healthy. We were both on antibiotics, like, throughout all of postpartum.
48 hours a night. We had to stay like slightly longer. It was weird. We got discharged at like 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Instead of normally you stay there for like a night, maybe 2 nights, and then go first thing that morning. But yeah, 2 nights.
But you were worth every little push and tear and dying of thirst. Yeah, you were. But yeah, I really wanted to share the story with you guys, and so that we could have a video log of it too before I forgot everything.
Could you a video log?
A video log, yeah, a vlog.
She's such a mom.
I never thought of that.
I'm just kidding.
I thought a vlog was a video blog.
That's a video log.
Really? It's not a video blog?
That would be a vlog.
No. Is it actually a video log? Now we don't know what we even do, so.
It would make sense that it is, right? What would be a blog?
A book log.
A blog. Sure, there you go.
I don't know.
Biographical log.
But anyway.
Biography log.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking to them? Are you saying hi? Saying hi. And I'm here, and it was fun.
I made it. Now I just keep my pants up and cry all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and this guy was so great through the whole thing, being so calm, and he like held my leg for part of it, which at first he was like, I don't even think I want to like be, I'm not sure I want to be down there.
I was a full-on nurse.
He was
slash
Nurse
doctor
Grayson. Yeah.
They like, there was one point somehow the doctor or the laborist, whatever, and the nurse that was in there were both left the room, and we were in the middle of pushing, and I'm like, I don't think y'all are both supposed to be gone right now.
Yeah. I was like, am I supposed to push when they're gone? Because I feel like I have to push right now.
So I was like, all right, well, yeah, let's do it. Because they had been in, I mean, this was probably like an hour into it or whatever. So kind of seeing like what we're doing and, you know. So I just like popped right around the front there. Grab those feet, legs, whatever, push them up. And
what was it like from your, give them a little quick snapshot of what it was like from your perspective. Oh, tell them the head story.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you want me to take her or are you good?
No, I get her. Okay. So yeah, so when I was right in front by myself there, that you couldn't really see much. There was just like blood and stuff that was coming out. Thankfully, he didn't poop when I was there.
Yeah.
He pooped. I don't know.
I pooped before. Whatever. That happens to everyone.
But once she kind of started clearing that, actually, I don't know if she had cleared yet or not.
Once she popped past those
you could kind
wings.
of, basically, once you could start seeing her head a little bit, they're like, "Do you want to see it?" I'm like, at this point, I'd already like been down. Like, why not? I don't really.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna be anything I can't handle now.
Yeah.
So like, we're looking at it, and I was like, it was much smaller than I thought. Not that it was.
Her head was.
It looked like it was much smaller, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be a tiny little baby. And then I was also like, oh, that'd be good. Like, it obviously it's not gonna feel great, but that's gonna be a pretty small head for her to have to push out. Like, it's not gonna be that bad, or as bad as it could be. So then, fast forward, however long later, and then all of a sudden, I can see her kind of like sideways like this, and I'm like, that's a freaking huge head. How's that possible? And what had happened was, as it turned out, when she was coming down, I could only see like this the crown of her head, and that was like so tiny. And so when she popped out and her head turned like this, it looked like a full-size adult head to me, because my expectations were so like, oh, it's gonna be, and because I was also thinking like, when I hold her, like I could like cover her entire face with my hand. It's like how my brain was envisioning that was going to happen, and then like having it was like 4 times the size of what I thought it was going to be. So having my brain have to like calculate that and like comprehend, I guess is the word. I was like, holy!
I just remember he was like, I saw this tiny little thing, and I was like, oh, like obviously I couldn't push it out, but I was like, oh man, it's like way smaller than I ever would have thought. And all of a sudden, like the head popped out, and he was like, what the heck?
Yeah, then you had a huge head.
Hi. And then we had little Miss Scarlett Everly Null.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally started crying. That was like, so
yeah.
It was a long time before she cried.
And now, she just won't stop.
Now she never stops.
Except you've been great doing this video.
Yeah,
good job.
So good. Well, guys, there you have it. That's our little labor and delivery story. It was a long one. It ended up being 29 hours.
Yeah. 29.
5 to 9, 5 Saturday night to 9 Sunday night.
Yeah. And then another like 48 or so in the hospital there.
Oh, hi, sweetie. Hi.
I love you.
But yeah, that was it. It was long, it was hard, but she was healthy in the end. Yep. I was healthy in the end. Everything's good.
Grayson
was fine.
That was fine.
Yeah, he's healthy. But yeah, it was definitely an adventure. And I just remember like right after we got to the postpartum room, I was like, we are never doing that again. We're having scheduled C-sections for all the rest of our children. And I was like, I literally remember saying that.
Oh, yeah.
But then by Thursday, I was like, oh,
we'll do it again.
It's just crazy how fast your body heals. I mean, heals. It's not fully healed, but the change in pain level happens so quickly that it's like, I can do it again. But anyway, now we have little Miss Scarlett Everly, and she's beautiful, and we love her so much.
And she's
we're hanging in there. It's been tough, but it's been really cool, and we're both so thankful for our little present.
Oh yeah.
Right? All right, girl. Can you say bye to all of our friends?
Say bye-bye.
Say bye. Say, I was tough, but I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it. I love you.